This video serves as a very quick introduction to how you might set up a website in Web&One. To do this, we'll look at how the Dine and Wine template has been configured. To keep this video short, I'll cover the main concepts used in the Web&One platform using pages, content templates, snippets, menus, and custom modules to demonstrate this. Covering these concepts will give you a good understanding of how the rest of the system operates, as most modules follow a similar approach. Let's start with the most prominent part of any website, the pages. In Web&One, there is a Pages module, listing the current pages and allowing you to create new pages. Let's look at the home page. There are some system settings for this item, mainly the page name, its URL, and the template it will use, which we'll come back to in a moment. But scrolling down to the main content region, we can start to see the raw contents of the page, where we can do further edits using the editor tools or even directly access the HTML code. You'll notice here that this is simply the contents of the page. There is no surrounding HTML document code, CSS and JavaScript assets, metadata, etc. It also doesn't have a lot of the more complex elements we can see on the live homepage. This is where the template comes into play. Pages and all other module items are created as individual records where we assign the outer wrapper of the document to them. We call these content templates. And you can create as few or as many as you require for your site setup. This site has several templates which we can apply to different items for varying page layouts and loading of different resources. Looking at the default content template, there seems to be a lot missing compared to a typical HTML document setup. This is because we're utilizing the power of the CMS to further abstract common repeatable sections of code, so it's easier to maintain when changes are required. For example, here we have the entire header and footer sections abstracted into a component called snippets. Because these often complex sections containing branding elements, navigation, contact info, legal information, and more typically remain consistent across the whole site, we don't want to repeat ourselves by adding the code for these to every content template we create. Snippets are ideal for this. We can add the section of code to a clearly named item, which can then be referenced anywhere throughout the site, as many times as needed. Looking back at the template code, we can easily insert these snippets using the component manager, found to the right of the screen throughout the admin, with just a few clicks. Most of the CMS content can be displayed in much the same way, utilizing the component manager interface and defining how you want the data to be returned. Now, a keen eye might notice that all of our document head code, metadata, JavaScript, CSS references, etc., have also been abstracted, but we're not using the same snippet method. Well, we're using something very similar, called an include. The principle is the same. However, includes are not directly managed via the typical admin interface. Instead, the snippet of code is created in a separate text file, and its file path is manually added to the include tag as a parameter. This is good practice for this use case, as the benefit of doing this is to remove more sensitive code from the reach of general admin users, keeping content meant for general editing within the admin and more technical code obscured within the file system, yet still easily accessible by the site designers and developers. Something a site admin user may very well want to edit is the site navigation, or menu. We also have a module for managing site menus. Not only for the main navigation at the top of a website, you may want to use this to manage footer links, social icons, and other on-page menus. Simply add items to your menu, including sub-items for multi-level drop-down menus, providing a display name and a URL to link to, along with various other attributes if needed. By default, your menu will be output as a standard unordered list. However, as with all modules within Web-in-One, the way content is rendered is fully customizable by the way of layouts. Layouts include the underlying HTML framework for all the individual pieces of data associated with each item. If you're implementing a menu that requires a specific markup or class names added, you can use the layouts to set this up and define where all the attributes of your items will go. Menu layout structure can be a little more complex than other modules as it deals with recursive items. So we have a main layout for the overall menu wrapper, typically a UL element, a layout for the individual menu items, and lastly, a layout to nest sub-level items. But most other modules have more simple layout structures, typically consisting of a layout for the list view and a layout for the detail view. If you think of a page displaying staff or team members, where each team member's profile is stored as an item in the CMS, we could have a list layout that defines how all items are displayed together, listed on a page, and then a detail layout defining how any individual profile is displayed, their photo, contact details, bio, etc. Layouts allow us to handle any number of items consistently and dynamically, making design and development changes quick and easy. That's why the concept of layouts is used extensively throughout the Web-in-One platform. Let's look at the team list a little further as our last demonstration for this video. Each team member, along with their individual details, are stored as items in the database. And we built this database structure with custom modules. Now, custom modules are really not that much different from the various built-in modules like blogs, banners, galleries, and FAQs. These are simply pre-configured modules for common use cases. Custom modules, on the other hand, let us build our own module structure for our own requirements. Here's a quick run-through. We set up our custom module with our own name and base URL. We add our own custom properties or fields for the individual pieces of data we need to store. We build our layouts to display the data in our list and detail views. We create our items, adding details to the fields. And then, using the Components Manager, we can configure the custom module for the items we'd like to list out and how, and copy the resulting component tag ready to insert on a relevant page, template, or even inside another layout. So we've covered adding our content as items, copying over our HTML for layouts, and setting up your templates and pages. But what about all your site assets, like images, scripts, and CSS? Just like navigating a file system on your computer, the File Manager gives you direct access to the folders on your site's storage, as well as code-level access to all pages, layouts, and templates. If you're connecting via FTP, you'll have the same level of access, plus a few more system-level layouts. There's plenty more to discover, but for now, thank you for exploring Web-in-One, and we hope you enjoy the power and flexibility of our ever-evolving platform. For help with any of these topics, or anything found in the admin, you can search the documentation at docs.webinone.com.